funky friends. I'm so excited you're here. We've been doing a bunch of vlogs now since the summer, and we've hung out together while I crafted things, went on little adventures, and made some clothes, and painted a bunch of stuff, and I don't know, just celebrate my dog's birthday. But I haven't really taken time to like talk about myself here beyond just the random stream of consciousness things I think of when I'm doing these creative projects. And the only description I ever have about myself really is, if you're new here, my name is Asia and we do a lot of things here, but one thing's for sure, we're always bringing the vibes. Yeah, today I thought I'd just elaborate a little bit on that, on me. While I've only been sharing vlogs here for a short amount of time, I actually have been streaming for quite a bit of time. And so through my stream community, our Discord community, just different social platforms, community, my IRL, my friends like in my like local community, I ended up asking them if they had any questions that they'd love to hear me answer on this vlog. And so everything that I have is from you all, so I hope that you enjoy. So I got a lot of questions and they're honestly all excellent. I like the like variety of topics to talk through and yap about, and so I just kind of organize them into a few different categories. So we'll start with just like the general life questions, and one that just like is a collective question that I get all the time when I'm streaming typically, or just, you know, as I'm sharing content here and there, is wait, where are you from? So I originally am from the island of Guam. I was born and raised there. I lived in the village of 𝖧.𝥧, which is where my family still lives, and yeah, I was born there in early 90s, and I loved growing up on Guam. I like, now that I live in the States, in the mainland, a lot of people ask me, you know, something along the lines of like, were you ever like stir crazy? What is it like living on an island? Is it small? Does it feel claustrophobic? Like something along those lines of questioning is typically what I'll get. And honestly, I mean, everyone's experience is different, like, of course, but being born and raised on Guam, I like did not ever feel like it was small. I felt like, you know, it was normal size. I don't know, like Guam is not very populated. Guam is not like the busiest like metropolitan area ever. It's a small island in the middle Pacific. It's a US territory. It's 14 hours ahead of where I currently live now. But it is just like a beautiful community. If you're not used to like warm island culture, you should take a little trip to Guam maybe. But I loved it, and I mean I still love it. I miss home. It is very expensive for me to travel back and forth between the States and home, so I really don't make that trip that often. Honestly, my parents come and visit me and my brothers, because all of me and my siblings, like, we all live in the mainland states, across like a couple different states, and so it's just a little bit, honestly, just like cheaper for my parents to come visit us and our growing families here than us like all collectively going home to visit. But I do want to go back someday, maybe next year, maybe soon, I don't know. I really want to make it back home. It's been far too long, but I loved growing up on an island. Like, you know, obviously one, climate wise, very different than where I currently live in southern Indiana. You really have just like two seasons, the dry season and the rainy season, but it rains during the dry season and it's dry during the rainy season, so it's a little unpredictable. Also, what's very like classic Guam weather in particular is like, you'll be looking to the left of you and it's super rainy, and then you look to the right of you and it's super sunny. I mean, I'm no meteorologist, but I think it's because Guam is really close to the equator. So like, I was so used to like the clouds coming really low to sea level essentially. Here, like in the States, like everything is much higher, and so like your sunrises and sunsets look different. The way that rain feels, I don't know, like weather is just different for multiple reasons, obviously, but I think like having the cloud cover be so close to the surface level, I think that's how you get like even on it's like a small island, like very localized sections of different weather that's going on. And then just like community wise, like I love being part of like a more communal environment. You know, obviously that has its like positives, and then areas that are like not as fun, like everyone having an opinion on everything you're doing. But you know, for the most part, it comes from a place of love and care, and that's just something that like I really I had a hard time adjusting to when I moved to the States. Yeah, I went to school. I went to you know, elementary through high school, growing up on Guam at the same academy. And then actually the second question I have here is from Icon Lady. Who's been in my like stream community for a long time, but she had asked what's the story of how me and Luke moved from Guam to the States. And that's a packed question all like in and of itself, and I feel like I could do a whole vlog on that. The long story short is we basically moved to the States for school, like for college. Luke and I went to a small university in Northeast Wisconsin, and the reason why we went there was, well, for him, his parents went there, and so he got free tuition, which was very nice, and I wish I had free tuition, but that's why he went. And I went because the school that we went to had a really, really caring faculty. Honestly, they like really shaped who I am today, I feel like, and I really appreciated that care that they gave me individually. And so I was like really inspired to go to school where they went, and a lot of them went to this school called Northland International University, and so I went there as well before I even liked Luke. Okay, I didn't follow Luke. It was very convenient that we were going to the same school, but on that, Luke and I did go to high school together. He's a year older than me, so he was like a grade above me, and we befriended each other in like right when I was going into my freshman year of high school, and then we liked each other, but I wasn't really allowed to date, so we just like were friends like all throughout high school. And then it wasn't until we moved to the States that we started like dating in college. And so yeah, we both grew up on the island. Like a lot of people are surprised that when they see Luke, they're like, oh wait, you met on Guam? Wait, you lived on an island? What? Excuse me? But yeah, so that's how we met. And yeah, we moved to the States ultimately just for college, and then we just like planted roots here. We ended up moving further south. I mean, I don't know if I would consider Southern Indiana the South, but I consider it more south, or location wise, than Northeast Wisconsin, where it was very, very cold. I have like really great memories from my time during school there, but I did not love the weather. That was hard for me. So even though the weather here can be temperamental as well, it's a lot more moderate than where we lived. So anyways, that's how we got to the States. And then you know, moving on to this next category, which I'm just labeling like creativity and hobbies. The first question is from Dr. Level Up, who is another amazing community member. He asked, where do you get your creativity from? Was it instilled by your family or something that I just vibed with and have cultivated skills for over the years? It's a great question. I would say it's like a little bit of both. My dad in particular, he was always someone that I really looked up to from like a creative standpoint. When we were growing up, he would draw he would get these very basic like lunch bags and backpacks back in the day when that wasn't like cool. I feel like as I got older, like it was cool to have, you know, these like really cool like neutral or just like blank like bags and totes and stuff, and I feel like that's like the thing now, and like you could just like put patches on it or something. But back then I feel like everyone just wanted everything like licensed and like IPs like slapped on canvas bags or whatever. And so I don't really know what the reason, I don't know if it was like a budget thing or what, that we didn't have that, but we just had these like really plain JanSport bags typically, and like plain lunch bags. And my dad would like draw really cool characters, or like, you know, just like little illustrations like all over our backpacks and on our lunch bags, and I honestly thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And he also had this like tin of I think it was Pentel, I actually don't remember what the brand was, but he had this like the specific tin of acrylic marker pens that I would like try to like, not like, I wouldn't sneak into it. He would let me use them, but like they were special. We didn't use them for everything, but I'd use them on my crafts and stuff. But I think I would like attribute a lot of my creativity to him, because not only did he do that, he would also like write us little like notes in our like lunch bags and would draw a little character. He also was like Santa and the Tooth Fairy for us growing up, and he would always like draw a little illustration on the like the letters he would leave us. Like I don't know what other people's like Tooth Fairy traditions are, if they have them, but like my dad would we always had like this little, I don't know if it was our thing with tins, but I had this like little Tigger heart tin that you'd like put your tooth in and then you put it under your pillow. I mean at the time I thought it was the Tooth Fairy would get the tin and take the tooth out, put, you know, some whatever, $1 or something in there, and then he would have like this note folded up that like fit in the tin, and it always was like talking, like sometimes the Tooth Fairy would like be stuck in like harsh weather because my dad would forget like one night to get the tooth, and he had to like make up a story of like why the Tooth Fairy didn't get the tooth overnight. And so he would always like write his little flight plan and then also draw a little Tooth Fairy on the note. So I don't know, I just like always grew up with like these little illustrations and these little creative moments. Oh, and also he grew up skating, and he had this like, I don't even know what they're called, this like older school board. It wasn't like dual nose, it's like there's like a nose and a tail, but anyways, he had one of those boards, and he had 2 different boards that he kept. And one of them I would try to play with than the other one because it had like a bunch of his illustrations on the like grip tape. It was so cool. Like I just thought it was the coolest thing. I thought my dad was like so cool for all the the things he would customize with his little doodles, and they're all like, his style was always like really fun. So anyways, I feel like he was like a big part of my creative path, the start. I don't know what to call it. And also my cousin, I don't have any sisters, and she is 6 years older than me. She always was like an older sister that I just admired growing up, and I still do. Like I love her. She and I we cousins, you know, we're besties. But growing up, like we never lived in the same place. She always either lived in Hawaii or in the mainland, and I was still on Guam. And so she would come in the summers, and she was really into like just drawing really beautiful animation, like anime style art. And I would just like watch her and mimic her, and we'd watch like Studio Ghibli movies together and just be really creative together. And she still like is super creative, but yeah, she's really creative. My uncle, who has since passed, unfortunately, but he also has always been creative. He did crazy things with like color pencil art. He also was just like a tattoo artist for funsies. But anyways, I feel like I can't deny, I'm sure there is some sort of like genetic like art gene in there somewhere. But I definitely feel like I got my creativity most from like my dad and from my cousin. But I would say, while I got my inspiration from them, I think like any techniques that I've got like gleaned over the years, or like, I don't know, developed, have all just been like on my own, just figuring things out. I would say I'm not the most like technically trained artist by any means, but I love it. I think it's so fun. So anyways, that's where I would attribute like my creativeness from. But I have another question here that's kind of about creativity, less about like art on like a canvas or digital art. This is more just about my home, as you can see around me. Both Tori and maybe 30 Bats, who are other members of the community, had asked something along the lines of, where do you get your house inspiration from? Where do I get my home decor like ideas from? I honestly, I don't even know how to like say this. My brain is weird. Most of these ideas just come from my brain. when Pinterest started becoming like a big thing, when I feel like when I was in college is when it started to like blow up more. I want to say like I wasn't like an early adopter of Pinterest, but like right after it started getting big is when I finally started like using it. Most people would use and continue to use Pinterest as like a way to brainstorm ideas. They're like, I want to, decorate my room. And so let me look and see what like Pinterest has. And I think that's like a great like tool for sure. But from as early as I had been using Pinterest, have always used it as like, I had this idea in my brain. Let me try to find a picture that somewhat remotely looks like what's in my brain. And so that's how I would always use Pinterest. Honestly, just mostly to like show other people, because I know it's in my brain, but I need other people to see what I'm seeing in my crazy brain. I think where it became like really bad or good, I don't know, was when I started doing digital art. My friend was getting rid of his old iPad, and I ended up just like buying it for like the trade-in value cost, and I downloaded Procreate, which was like the best like $15 or $20 I ever spent, and I would just like doodle and stuff. When Luke and I first moved to our first house, not this one that we're in, but the one before it, I had these pictures I had taken from like the walkthrough, and I instantly knew, I was like, I want to do this crazy accent to this wall, and add this like half wall pop of color, and add this decor item, and whatever. I had all these ideas, and I like have to put things on paper or like some sort of way, like physical way, to communicate what's going on in my brain for me to like be still. So I was like, I would have like all these like restless nights, like just thinking about what I want to do and like mapping it out in my brain. And so I finally decided, I was like, oh, let me just like pull these images into Procreate and just draw on top of them, and then I can like make models, like make like a visual of like how I want to do art in here. And so that's what I did for that house. And I think that was like honestly what Luke needed, because buying our first house, there's like a lot of anxiety that can come with that. I did not feel that anxiety. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. Luke, however, felt like the brunt of it. Poor guy. But I would like show him, like I would want to show him like, oh, I'm thinking this for this wall, and this for this wall, and this for this room. And he was like, I love you, girl, but you have to stop. Like, we're not even closed yet. Like we're in escrow. Relax, okay? I mean, you can keep doing what you're doing, but like I need you to not show me every iteration. Like, just hold on to it. So like doing these little art projects for myself were like a great way for me to cope with like having these ideas and having an outlet for them, but not letting it negatively affect someone else by just like overloading someone. So it was like a good learning opportunity. But I don't even know how I got on that story, but that my house inspo comes from my head. I don't know, but I will say with this room in particular, and just like this house in general, from all the like clips you've seen through my vlogs, this house was the budget house, because we ended up turning our first home into an income property. And so we moved into this house with like a mattress and a lamp and a shelf, and that was essentially it. We left everything else in our old home, and like because it was like gonna be like a short-term rental situation. So we didn't really have a lot of money because we didn't sell the other house. We just bought another house. And so I ended up using the leftover paint from the first house and using it here. So I would say the first home has more of like this like modern, not cheesy, coastal vibe. A lot of like, I have like this like cool mural wall that kind of looks like the ocean, and I just like really pretty pops of color. It feels very like relaxing and zen in that home, and I love it. It's got like its own personality. But here in this house, I feel like every home is different, and it kind of calls for its own style. So I didn't really want to copy and paste the vibe from the last home to this one. So this one I wanted to be more like pop art inspired and have like fun, like, you know, pops of color and be very vibrant and bold, but not like overwhelmingly bold. And so I ended up just using like the leftover paint and painting like accents. I didn't paint really any like full walls of any color. I just like added different graphics, different like rectangles and stripes and circles and like just like random things, like little archway thingies, to just like give the idea of like, oh, this is like fun and bold without it like taking up the entire wall and costing more money because I have to like buy more paint. So I'm actually really proud of myself that I was able to stretch all that paint into this house without having to purchase more paint. So anyways, that's where my inspiration comes from. I don't know, that's my process. Okay, and then the next question I have is from Serena of Storms, another amazing community member, who asked, what are some of your favorite recipes? That's why I'm like saying that this is like creativity and like hobbies, because cooking is a creative outlet for me. It's a hobby for me. I don't necessarily have like a favorite recipe. It would require me to like use recipes more. I think one of the major points of frustration my mother-in-law has, not like actually, but like has with me in a jokey way, is like I'll make something for them and then she'll be like, can you send me the recipe? And I'm like, I don't have one of those. I just like cook with vibes, you know? And so honestly, my favorite thing to do is just to be creative with whatever we have like currently in our pantry and in our fridge, and try to like have the least amount of waste as possible. So it's always like a fun puzzle. I'm like, I don't know, what am I gonna make? I have this leftover salmon and I have this cilantro and I have this Greek yogurt. Like, let's just make like a cool like a yummy salad or something, you know? Like there's like really fun things I can make, but I feel like I rarely ever plan. But I will say one of the dishes I really do like making that's like very easy, I feel like I always have the ingredients in my kitchen for it, is I really love making soba. Like it's so simple, like cold soba. We always have the 𝖼, the like the soup base in our fridge, and I'll just like add that with a little water and cook some soba noodles real quick, and then top it with some scallions and some ginger, sometimes some radish or some turnip or like daikon radish if I do have any, and I'll just like have that with some rice and some kimchi, or you know, whatever I have in the fridge, and it's just like a really nice like cool like meal. But it really just depends on what I have in my kitchen at all times. Sorry, I don't know if that like really answered that question that well, but that's my life. Okay, the last question I have for creativity and hobbies is, what do you do in the wake of creativity fatigue? Those times where you want to stay inspired but have no energy to be actively creative. Star Freckles asked this, and she is an amazing content creator and community member, one of our friends. I'm gonna see her and her husband Tree this fall. It's gonna be so fun. But this is a great question. So I would say that like the underlying thing with that, of like with creativity fatigue and like wanting to be creative, is like as much as I love creativity, as much as I love doing creative projects and having creative outlets, and I think that's like a really important practice, no matter if you're like super talented or just like want to start a hobby or whatever, is just remembering that like your identity is not creativity. Like being a creative person is like a really awesome attribute and it's a really great practice, but it doesn't like define who you are. It doesn't like attribute like value to like who you are as a person. And I think like when you do think like, oh, I'm the creative person, or I'm the hobby person, or I'm consistent with my hobbies, or whatever it is, you know, whenever that's like a value add, or like you're considering that like a way of gauging how much value that you have as a person, like producing creative content, I think that's where things can fall apart really quickly and what leads to burnout. I think it's good to acknowledge that burnout is inevitable because we are human. We have limited energy, we have unlimited resources, and that's like not to be like belittling of like everything that we can accomplish as people, but it's just like trying to have like a realistic point of view of like, I think when you can acknowledge the fact that we are limited, that actually like empowers us to, you know, create the most beautiful things, to be mindful about times that we need to rest. Like, I think that we don't have to like view getting tired as like this negative thing. Like, I think that's like not like a thing that should make us feel smaller than we are. That just is like acknowledging what truly is, and that doesn't like say anything negative about us as people. Like, we are people, you know. So I think a big thing when it comes to like not experiencing or like, you know, how to navigate your creative world when you like still love creative things, you desire to make creative things when you're in a state of burnout, is really just to like take a moment to just like enjoy the creativity that is like exists, like, that you're experiencing every day, whether it be like a show that you really love or a piece of art, like whatever it may be. Like, just slowing down and enjoying like experiencing creativity is really important. I think like when we talk about creativity, a lot of times when we think about appreciating creativity or practicing creativity, we often think about like, how can I myself like be, you know, produce something that is creative, whether that's like a physical piece of art, whether that's music, whether that's like a small like animation, or, you know, whatever, like a home decor thing. Like, we think about like how we are exerting effort, and I think like it's really good to have those moments of exertion, but I think like to really like, you can also just appreciate creativity from like an observer and someone like experiencing other people's creativity. A lot of times like creativity can be an isolating experience where you are, you know, spending your time making beautiful things, making beautiful pieces of art. And I think like having a state of burnout, you can like redeem that time by just like really taking time to like enjoy the creative efforts that other people are putting out there, and like experiencing it from like a true like observer, someone that can interact, that's not the creator, that's like the audience or the community that's like that this piece of creation is intentionally made for you to enjoy. So I think that's like a really important thing to do when you find yourself in a state of burnout. And I think like to minimize the amount of times that we go through the stages of burnout, it really is just being mindful about like, what does it mean to be in a flow state? Like, by that I mean like, what is the balance that we're trying to strike of like doing things that are stimulating and engaging and require effort, but not requiring so much effort that we can't sustainably like continue to output at that level. I think like that's like treating us like we're machines and not human people. So I think like before you hit that stage of burnout, to help be like proactive about it, I think taking a step back to see like, what are areas that are really invigorating for me to like lean in just a little bit more, and grow a craft, you know, create something beautiful or practical or whatever it may be, but not to the point where you are not like getting the rest that you need, that you're not like getting life from this project, you're just like exerting too much energy, and that, you know, ultimately that's what leads to burnout. So anyways, that was a very long answer. That was a great question, Star Freckles. I love that one so much. But I want to move on from creativity and hobbies into like content creation, which obviously like that kind of, it does go hand in hand with creativity itself, but it's like, I don't think content creation itself is the creative thing. Like you can be creative about content creation, but like just because you're creating content doesn't mean like you're being creative for the sake of being creative. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Okay, so Crunchbite had asked, who is an amazing culinary instructor and one of my first OG community members of my stream community, had asked, how do you kick butt in consistently streaming? And it's such a funny question. I love that so much. I have been streaming for the last 4 years now, I think. And if you're unfamiliar with that, if you're new to the vlogs, new to my content, I've been for the last few years streaming over on Twitch, just streaming. Honestly, it's that's a whole journey of itself. I feel like that also can be its own vlog of I started doing just strictly cooking content, not strict I was restraining myself, but I only just did cooking content that was inspired by growing up on Guam and making dietary inclusive recipes inspired by the recipes I grew up with, and then from there I kind of moved into doing really leaning into variety of content. I did a lot of cozy gaming, a lot of Animal Crossing and cooking, so I was kind of going back and forth between those two, and then I kind of leaned more into creative things once I started really leaning into digital art more. I would really I would do some cooking here, some digital art here, some cozy gaming there, and then now I sometimes do some of that content. I mostly do that content on the vlogs, which is honestly why I started vlogging, because I found that I think the thing that I enjoyed the most to do in a live setting with my live community was doing co-working streams. And so these days I predominantly do co-working streams and read with me streams over on Twitch, and I kind of save more of the creative DIY stuff for the vlogs. And I feel like that's a really fun, going back to doing things that are sustainable. I think that's a really good balance for me. It's I do need that alone time to do creative things. I think that's the way that it's the most life-giving to me, but I also love to share those creations with people, so the vlogs have been a really fun way to do that. But I honestly think consistently streaming, this is gonna sound like such a lame-o answer, but trying to be consistent in streaming is how to get there. I don't know. I think when I first started streaming, granted I was doing streams that you wouldn't typically see on Twitch that have different setups. I wasn't behind a gaming PC or a desk at all. I was on a kitchen island with my little laptop and my little lav mic, so it was a different setup. But I think when I first started streaming, I was overwhelmed's not the right descriptor word. I just had to be super mindful. It took a lot of mental ability discipline to think through okay, here are my checklist of things I need to do to start the stream. I just have to be really mindful about everything I was doing. And I think over time you just kind of get really comfortable with this form of media, this medium to share your content with the world, or at least this little corner of the internet. And I think over time you just kind of get more comfortable with the actual process of doing the thing, that you can really focus more of your energy on what creative thing it is that you're doing beyond just the technical setup and process of streaming. So yeah, I would just encourage, I know that Crunch has been doing some streams here and there, and I think it's really fun to just lean into streaming. But yeah, I would just encourage any of my friends, I've seen a lot of people get into streaming lately. One is my very good friend that you've seen on my vlogs quite a bit, 𝖤.𝥧. She started streaming this a little over a year ago, and it's just really cool. I think when you start streaming, just having a small community of people that are gonna be there on your streams rallying you on, even if it's just if it's just them for the little bit while you kind of get the ball rolling and start growing community. Honestly, I think another thing with streaming too is what are you doing when you're not streaming? If you're being intentional about being a part of communities, not just for the sake of self-promotion. I think that's kind of icky if that's the only reason why you're on things. But if you're trying to find community with people online that are like-minded to you, or are into the same content that you are in, it really encourages you to anticipate this might be a really cool opportunity to connect with those people while I'm live. I think when you're relationship driven versus productivity driven, I guess I think that's that's what makes streaming fun, or what can make streaming fun, at least for me. That's my experience. But then the next question I've got is similar to Crunch Bites question. Icon Lady once again asked, which came first, streaming or working for a company that helps with streams? I think I brought this up on vlogs before. If not, you might, maybe not. Depending on how algorithms work, you might have seen my face over on some of the marketing content for 𖤣.𝥧, which is the company that I work for. They are like a video hosting, a creation and hosting solution for creators, for businesses, all that fun stuff. So I work with them, and I did not start streaming until I started working at 𖤣.𝥧. And so part of the reason why I started streaming, it's like a mixed bag. Let me back it up a little bit. I've done content creation for a very long time, from like when I was in college, essentially, all the way till now. And so I first started by like just posting stuff on Instagram, and then I kind of like morphed into doing like cooking videos on YouTube, in addition to the stuff I was posting on Instagram, I was blogging for a while, kind of just walking through some like food journey stuff. So I've always been doing content creation, and I've always been driven by like community building and just like creating relationships with people, because I'm very like passionate about building relationships with people intentionally. And so so back in like 2020, Luke started streaming himself on his channel, my husband, on Twitch as well. And I was just like really enjoying building relationships there with him and his community. And that's how we ended up meeting 𝤣.𝥧 and getting to know their community. And so it kind of was like the natural next step of like, okay, like I've been doing content creation. I'm like comfortable with like cameras and editing and whatever. What would it look like to move or like have an element of content creation that was live? And so thankfully I was able to use the resources I have at 𝤣.𝥧 to start doing content, or to start streaming on my own channel. So yeah, that's kind of like how that process has went. And it's just fun to see how the stream has continued to grow and evolve, not just like the content, but also like the things that I love, like how the stream looks and how the aesthetics are, and how people feel, like what emotion is like evoked when they see a stream of mine. So anyways, it's really fun. I really enjoy streaming, really enjoy vlogging too, but like streams are like such a fun way to just like spend time with people, and these days just like work and together. The next question I have is from Genevieve Mazer, who is a newer community member that I befriended, who also actually uses 𝤣.𝥧 to stream, which is really fun, who also is a coworking streamer. She asks, imposter syndrome, how do you fight the comparison monster? What a great question. Let me tell you, I mean going back to the question that Starfuckles had asked about like burnout, I think when your identity is in the things that you are creating, or maybe it's not like as deep as that, like you just feel like your value is based on like what you're producing, I think like that is not good. I think that that's like where imposter syndrome like is born, where it thrives, where it festers. I hate that word. But I think like when you are able to see yourself as like valuable inherently and not because of like what you do or what you produce, I think that's where that's like the best way to combat imposter syndrome. People joke around about like all the things that I do, whether they're creative, whether they're like work related, and like how I'm doing all these things. And honestly, I say this like in a funny way, but it is like it is deep. It goes deeper than this. I'm always like, you know, when you're not afraid to fail, you can do so much. You can do so many things. And that really is how I approach like creative work, how I approach content creation, how I approach my job, and like just different things that I like put effort towards, is like it is not like a bad thing to fail. It is not like anything negatively impacting my character or who I am to fail. Like honestly, like if I fail, I'm just learning from it. So like there's no shame there. And I think when you can like remove shame from the equation and just like create from who you are, like that is like when you're gonna be creating like the most beautiful things. That's when you're going to be like productive in the best, like purest way possible, I feel like. And I think too, another thing with imposter syndrome is like remembering that like ultimately like everyone is doing, like no one is doing something completely unique, okay? Like everyone is like inspired by someone else, like positively inspired by someone else. Maybe some people are like copying other people, like not in a good way, but like ultimately what brings the unique element to your content or like anything that you are creating is you. It's like who you are as a person. Like we all are unique. Like yes, like we all like have inherent value. That is like for sure, I keep like driving that point, but we also like have that in a unique way. Like we are all unique from each other, and that's like so beautiful. Like that diversity is beautiful. And I think like when you can really lean into the fact that like you are who you are, and like so creating something inherently is going to be different than someone else's, like that should like deter comparison, like negative comparison. I think like it's good to, you know, like see what other people are doing and like help, that can help you learn like what you want to do and like how you want to improve or grow. But I think like actually comparing and like placing value and like saying like this person's content or how this person's approach is more valuable than mine, this person's results is more valuable than mine, like that's no good. Don't do that. So yeah, I just think like when you can acknowledge that you yourself are valuable in who you are, that is how you can create beautiful things. I have another question, more so regarding like productivity, and I do the co-working streams over on my Twitch channel. 𝖤.𝐷, who is like such a hype person for my content and for my community, just awesome person, also a creator, had asked, how did you come across the Pomodoro method, and what are some of your productivity tips and tricks? It's a great question. And if we are talking about like imposter syndrome, I am like not the most productive person. I think like these tools are really helpful because it helps me just like focus better, but it's because I'm inherently not a very focused person. But the Pomodoro method in particular, I did learn from my middle brother, Rio, who he does like really excellent content. He has a production company and has made a James Beard Award winning short film. It's beautiful. It's called Great Wall. You should look it up. He's just so talented. But he, for a short period, was doing co-working streams as well, and that's where I learned about this concept. I didn't even know that you could do co-working streams. So Pomodoro means tomato, and people would use like tomato timers in their kitchens. And so the idea is like you work with a timer, and so you typically work for like a longer period of time, and then you take a break for a shorter period of time, and you just do that on rotation. On my streams, I work for 30 minutes on and then take a break for 5 minutes. I think the more common thing is people working for 25 minutes on and 5 minutes off, but everyone has like different frequencies that they prefer. So that's the tool. It's not, I would say like it's not conducive for different kinds of workflows, but for how I work, that is something that I can do. And so it's just like a way to help me stay on track. My silly little brain loves to like go everywhere and think about a million things at once. So it just helps me like stay on task, and also like take breaks when I need to take a break and not like hyperfixate on something. But I would say like for other tips and tricks is just like being really honest about how your brain works, how your brain operates, how like what is motivating for you and what is not. Obviously I'm like all about like not doing things just for the sake of being productive. I think like just thinking about your value as like what your output looks like is not healthy, and it's not like it's not an accurate barometer of like value. So I think when you keep that in mind, that helps like alleviate some of the pressure when it comes to like coming up with what tips or tricks work for you. But I think like, yeah, finding out, like I mentioned this earlier, but like knowing, like experimenting with what flow state looks like for you, like how much capacity do you have to do good work and it be a stimulating like experience and not like pushing you beyond your means and then just like getting exhausted and you're not able to replenish like in a good cycle. I think like just taking the time to do that is like really important. So honestly, like I don't have any really good tips or tricks for like specific productivity things, but what I can say is I think like it's really important to take time and not do, like, this sounds like counterintuitive, but like not do a productive thing in the moment and just like think about how you work well. I think like for some people it is like really honestly for me, besides like doing my like IRL job stuff when I'm just doing like productive things around the house or for my content or whatever, I am a more project-based person. I like to spend more time working on the project for a longer period of time and then taking a break for a longer period of time. But some people that like their mental like resilience or their like just capacity to work for that long of a period of time is not healthy and not helpful. So it is good like using something like the Pomodoro method to like take breaks between tasks and like slow down. Like sometimes people need that and they can like take a shorter break and get back to work, get back to doing the things that you do like faster. And I think like everyone's just different. And I also think like when it comes to rest, like just making sure you're really mindful about resting well. I think resting well is also very important. You know, use time to rest to either just like do nothing, like potato, or, you know, exercise, or do hobbies. Like doing things for the sake of just like enjoying them and not to produce something, I think is really important. And so like having those intentional times of rest is very important. Like intentionally plan on times for your brain to just not do anything, you know, which sounds counterintuitive. I know I'm saying intentional, but like don't think about it so hard. That's what I mean. Like don't have an underlying like motive or like hope that your rest will produce something. Like just rest. Just everyone chill out, okay? Okay, on to what I'm just saying assorted or etc. questions. I felt like these questions are all so good, but didn't really fit like a specific category, so I decided to just like put them all together. But first we have a question from Dada, who Dada also has been part of my stream community for a very long time. He asks, so you like to read. What is a book that, in your opinion, everyone needs to read at some point? Such a great question, and honestly, such a hard question because everyone likes reading different things. I would say I don't even know if I have like a specific book in mind. Maybe it'll come to me literally as I'm talking and verbally processing this out loud. But I think like a slept on like subgenre of fiction is magical realism. I think like magical realism is such a great like way of telling stories. Basically I did a couple, like a part 1 and part 2 vlog of like some magical realistic stories, some that I thought were, but I wouldn't really say that they were post reading them. But basically they're just like these slice of life stories that have like a tiny magical element that like moves the plot along. And really I just love stories that are like that, you know, that the conflict is not so dynamic and crazy. It's typically like man versus himself, or like, you know, you like a interpersonal conflict, but like it's like between family members and it's like subtle. And I think like those stories are so impactful because they're so easy to identify with. I feel like they're about the every person. And so I just think like reading stories, looking at that genre is like a really great experience, especially for people who have never read magical realism stories. I think it kind of strikes that balance of like people who maybe are interested in fantasy, but they don't really want to learn a million different names and like a whole different biology, and you know, like whatever, they don't want to learn about a whole different universe. That seems like a little too far out of reach. If you just really are driven by like character building beyond anything else, beyond like these like extravagant plots, I just think magical realistic stories are great. Some of my favorite ones are from Japanese authors. I really like People from My Neighborhood. I think that was like a really awesome like collection of stories about, you know, people in a neighborhood. I recently read a novel with one of my friends who we like go back and forth reading book suggestions that each other has, and we read Lonely Castle in the Mirror. That I think was another great novel and really sad and gut-wrenching and beautiful, but like the magical element of that story was like bigger, but it still felt very grounded. I just feel like I love like stories where the characters feel really grounded in what they're doing. Yeah, they're just all great. I love them. I know I feel bad because I feel like I didn't really answer the question specifically, but at least I picked a genre, okay? We have a question that is really good, like a two-part question, I guess. Or I guess there's like two answers to it. But Moon Mama, who is a newisher, not really new, person in our community who is like also another like hype girl. I love her so much. She asked the question, what are 2 things that people have misunderstood about you, and what are the facts? Give us the facts. Okay, I was literally just talking about this recently with another community member, but the one, okay, I'll explain one and then move on to the other. One of the things that people have misunderstood about me is like what type I am. Everyone thinks because I like do a lot of things, they're like, oh, she's type A. She does these productivity streams, these co-working streams. She makes a lot of stuff. I'm like spinning a lot of plates. Like, she's type A. You guys, you would not believe how not type A I am. I try to be on top of things because I need to be, because like I gotta pay the bills, you know, like things like that. But like, that is not who I am. I am very like go with the flow, and I plan things because they're like needed, but I don't not like a really structured person at all. But because of like my weaknesses are like being self-motivated to get stuff done, so I have to like have these like life hacks, like brain hacks for myself, just to like make sure I get things done. But I'm very much a type B person. I could care less about the details. I mean, I really love details when it comes to like being creative, but I very much like go with the flow with life. It's really funny because Lucas is not that way, and so we're a great pairing for sure. But yeah, very much so type B. I don't even know if I would say Lucas type A, but he's more structured than I am. But yes, I am not type A. Let the record be clear. I am very much so type B. I feel like people mistake this mistake me and mistype me, whether we have an online friendship or they know me in person. But I am not an extrovert. People always assume that I am, but I really am not. I will say that I'm very like passionate about building relationships. I think like we are like built for a relationship, and like that's like the way, you know, we need that connection with each other. And so because of that, like I think it's worth my expelled energy and effort to be with people and be present with people and really put an effort to do that, or put forth effort to do that. But I am not energized by that at all. Like I have a very small group of people that like I can like do life with, and it doesn't drain me for like to like interact with them, because like they're just like part of my life and my like flow. But for the most part, like even though I think it's completely worth the effort that I'm putting forth to like be with this person and be engaged with this person in like a group setting or one-on-one or whatever, it is not life-giving to me. Like I am not energized by that. After the fact, I have to like recharge by myself. There is this one time where my middle brother Rio, who I mentioned, and our family and some of his friends, like came up for Thanksgiving, and it was a great time. Like, but a lot of big personalities, a lot of energy happening all the long weekend, all the long holiday weekend. And when they left, I spent the rest of the weekend, because I think they left like on a Sunday morning, and I had like that Monday off or something. So like Sunday night into Monday, I painted a ton of murals in my house. I was like, I need a creative outlet right now, but I like need to not talk to anyone. And so that's just how I cope with longer periods of time, or more than normal energy effort like put out towards like engaging with people. So let the record be known for this as well. I am very much an introvert, but I love people. Like I'm passionate about people, so I will put it. I hope that it speaks of my love for you all to like put forth effort to be with you. It's not like, ugh, I don't want to be here, you know? It's like I want to be here, but I'm gonna go take a nap after this, you know? Okay, so let's move on. Okay, to change the whole vibe of all the questions you've been getting, because why not? I have a couple questions from my friend I lived in New York, who is one of my and Luke's friends that we met through I think through meee actually, which is a podcast crew that I'm a part of. This is like their logo back here, or our logo. I'm part of the podcast crew. But one of our friends from there, I live in New York, he had asked what are some of the best and worst superpowers in my opinion. I will say I think my favorite superpower, because it's just like there's a lot of loopholes to it, is I just love a classic levitation superpower, because I feel like for people who can levitate things and themselves can fly, you literally can do so much. You don't have to pay. I'm like thinking from a very practical standpoint, like you don't have to like pay moving companies. You can like you can travel where you want. You can I mean, assuming that you're like OP, you can like levitate yourself and other people right at the same time, so you can like travel with people very easily. You save on gas, you save on airfare, you save on whatever. I just think that is an excellent superpower. Like that would be great. Least favorite, the one that I like least identify with, I think, is like flexibility. Like I get that Mr. Fantastic is amazing, but I don't get it, you know. I don't get the draw. Also, Elastigirl, love her, as she's like iconic, but also what are you really doing? Like for everything that you could do with like being able to squeeze into a small space and stretch your arm really far, like you literally could just like levitate that thing, you know? So I don't know if there are people that are like super into an elastic ability, but it's just not my thing. So if that offends you, I'm really, really sorry. But he also asked another very riveting question: how many 12-year-olds can take me out in a fight? I want to say, I think just 2. I think I can deal with 1. And my brother had asked like a good like clarifying question that I didn't think to ask. I live in New York in the moment. He was like, are these like one by one, like one comes at you and then another comes at you, or are they coming at you together? I feel like it's at the same time. I feel like that's like the heart of the question, the spirit of the question. So assuming that like multiple people are coming at me, I'm thinking 2, maybe 3, you know. I think my adrenaline would kick in a little bit if I really was like triggered into like fight or flight mode. But yeah, I'm not that strong, so I'm gonna say 2 or 3. I have like mental strength, but I don't know if I have like a lot of physical strength, and I'm pretty short, you know. So I hope that answer, or those answers, are acceptable. Okay, I have a great question here, another one from Moon Mama. This is a 5-part question, or 5 answers. If time, money, and responsibilities weren't an issue, what are 5 things that you'd love to do right now? All right, I wrote these down so I'd make sure that I would share them with you all. But one I've been thinking about a lot lately is I would love, if I had like unlimited resources, I would love to start a printing company. I think that'd be so cool. Like I think like risograph prints, which I literally just realized today is not pronounced riso. What is wrong with me? How did I not know that? I've known about like riso prints for forever, but I didn't know it wasn't pronounced riso prints. I literally was just talking to my boss yesterday about, I was like, I love risographs, and like I sound stupid. It's a risograph. Okay, I would love to start a printing company. I think it'd be so cool to have specialty printers, I don't know, like have like all these different methods. I would love to do block printing and risographs, and just like really like well done inkjet like prints. I love creating, I love doing digital art, and I just think it'll be a really cool way to ensure that the quality and the uniqueness of the pieces are there by not like sending them out to somewhere and just like actually having my own printing company. That'd be so cool. And like you could do like screen prints. Oh, it'd be so awesome. This is kind of a giveaway one, but like this is a Delulu dream of mine, but I would love, I don't know what how this would even remotely be for real, but I think it'd be so fun to do content full time. Like if this could be like my actual full-time job, I think I would really love it. I think it depends on like what kind of content you're doing to see like how Delulu that is, but I feel like with the kind of content I do, it would be super cool to do this full-time and like have partnerships full-time. Don't think it'll happen, but that's not why I'm doing it, but I think it'd be fun to get paid to do this for a living. Okay, next, I think it'd be so fun to be a jewelry maker, specifically to deal with like metal. That's like one creative outlet I've never really like explored before, and I feel like requires more resources, more monies than some of my other crafty things that I like to do. But I always thought it'd be really cool to like design my own jewelry and to like cast it and everything. Maybe one day I can get into that, but that day is not today, okay? And then another giveaway one, but I would definitely travel more. I love traveling, but I don't get to that often because we have to be really frugal with our finances, and maybe one day we'll be in a position where we can travel more. Luke does for his job, but we don't get to travel that much, like just the two of us for funsies. But hopefully that can change in the future. But I just think it'd be really fun to travel more, go back home. I mentioned that before, like I haven't been home in like a long time, and I would love to do that. Would that be nice? But yeah, I'd love to travel more. I would definitely do that with unlimited time and money and resources. And then lastly, I would definitely this has always been like like the back of my mind dream, and just like the more that I do this sort of content, the more I want to do it. I think it'd be so fun to start a like used bookstore, like cafe, cozy gaming, like for the girlies, like cafe. I already said cafe, but you know, like a really cozy spot to just like hang out, and you can read, you can do some like little digital art thing, you can just like hang, whatever, play games, either like on a handheld, or there could be like some cozy spots to like play games on a console. I think it'd be so fun to be like an internet cafe, but like not icky, you know. Not that there are really like internet cafes anymore, but I think that'd be so fun. I think like it could be so cozy, and it's like all the things that you love about like viby games, cozy game core stuff, but like a cafe where you can just like hang out with your girlies and sip really fun lattes and play Paleo together. I don't know, whatever you want. So anyways, that is actually a dream that I think would be so fun to accomplish one day. So we'll see. And then the last three questions are from my bestie Derek, who is he hangs out with us online sometimes, but he's also like one of my IRL friends. But he asked, what colors resonate with your soul? It's a great question. Basically every color in this room is like the obvious answer, but more particularly, I just love the color orange. I think like it just brings so much warmth, but also like vivaciousness to a space, and I feel like that is something that I resonate with myself, with my soul. I think like I always want my presence to be like a safe space for people, but also a place that can like bring energy. I don't think I'm like the most fun person ever, but I love like when people have fun, and I love to create spaces for people to like feel revived, and so I just think that like the color orange, specifically like a creamsicle color orange, is just like the perfect, like, oh, so cozy, so warm yet not too warm. It's like lively, not just makes you sleepy. I don't know, it like hits that perfect medium for me. So anyways, that's the color that resonates with me the most. And then next he asked, if you could be an animal, what would you be and why? Okay, here's the thing, this is like maybe like a lame answer, but I would be my dog Pocky. She lives the best life. Like she has like the coziest spaces in this house. She has her own little room that sometimes she sleeps on. She has like so many cozy corners and nooks, and I was like trying to think of like any other animal that I would pick besides Pocky, and I'm like, I don't know, Pocky's living the life. Like she gets to be in a beautiful space all the time. She's always cuddling with her like little plush animals. She gets to like run around and be free when she wants to be. Not be free, I guess I don't like within boundaries, but she just lives a life, and I would like that life, you know. So that's my answer for that. And then lastly, I think it's like the perfect question to end on for today's Q&A vlog is, if your life was a book, what would you title this chapter? I definitely would title this chapter Falling into Place. I think I would like to imagine that the novel of my life is magically realistic, like the subgenre I was talking about earlier, and I feel like this is like the part where like, okay, things are starting to click, things are starting to connect. I've like, you know, done creative things over the last decade, more than a decade, and I've been doing stuff in my career, doing stuff in my life, my like marriage with Luke, my family, you know, like there's all these things that are happening, but I just kind of feel like things, like all these individual isolated passions and loves are like all kind of coming together, and like it's like getting like synergistic, and I love it. I'm kind of here for it, because that's like, I always am like striving for synergy in what I do, and so I just think that this is like a really cool like era where like things are starting to click and connect. And yeah, so I probably would say, what did I call it? Things fall into place, or I guess it would just be falling into place. I don't like using the word thing that much, even though I think I've said it like a few times on this recording, but falling into place, that's what I'll title this chapter. I hope that that's sufficient for everyone. But this was a lot of fun. I need to do more of these, maybe like once a quarter or something, like just get all your questions in and answer the things that you're really wanting, what the people want, you know. But I hope that you enjoyed the cozy and caring vibes, and I hope that you're able to share those cozy and caring vibes with others. I love you all so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.